something big is coming before the end of 2025. They said actually it could happen way sooner, even close to summer. Elon Musk talks about AI. Now I call it a warning. A lot of people call it, well, it's just this innovation. Well, the innovation is scary. We're going to talk about the seriousness of this new revelation when it comes to AI. Also, we're going to talk about what Trump just said about Putin. Are we seeing the dismantling of the trade talks and the war talks and conflicts and escalation? It seems like it's getting a lot heated because Trump comes out with a crazy statement about Putin. Let's dive into that too. And also, we're going to talk about our food. The average fast food burger, how much DNA has been taken and realized in that one burger. Now me, I raise my meat on farm and I harvest it, and that one animal is in that meat. Don't you think it's dangerous when the meat that we're eating and the consuming of food that we're eating, you're going to be blown away at how many pieces of meat and DNA has been found in an average burger. It's absolutely nasty. That goes along with 3D printed meat. It's really taken off in the European countries. It's getting a pass. They say it could come to a store near you in America as well. We've already got vegan burgers and vegan all this and that and all this new crops. Now, what about 3D printed meat? Now, you think it can't happen here. I want to tell you about a story about a farmer, about GMO soil. What have we gotten to where we are now messing with the soil? We're putting ourselves in an extreme famine and depression. And you don't believe me, listen to this story, how we have a cod complex with some of these tech billionaires. Instead of allowing for regenerative agriculture, allowing natural things to occur, we decide to do it ourselves. And I believe we're causing damage to the farm and to our food system. And when you think the news of WEF and things changing is not happening, there's a new report from Wide Awake Media stating that a cyber pandemic would be next. They said they've been playing along with this and toiling around with the fact that, remember, all our money, all our life, everything that we have is on technology. Well, now the risk is saying, what if all of a sudden that is the next pandemic? Cyber attack, virus in the phones, or complete annihilation of tech. A lot can take place when we're allowing our whole life to be led by AI and digital devices. Let's dive into these stories and a few more. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to The Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. We are humbled by your support on this channel, The Max Life, which is my wife's channel, and my new channel, Life with Colby Mack, which is a vlog channel. Go check it out if you wonder how we grow food, how we want to live sustainable, the things that we teach and talk about on here. We actually show what we're doing on the other channel, so go check that out. Now, you can hear it raining. It is a nasty, rainy Memorial Day, which again, as a farmer and as someone who raises animals and crops, I'm actually okay with the rain. We need the rain. So now let's dive into these stories because I think there's some pretty huge announcements coming out. Let's first talk about Elon. Elon comes out with two major stories, I guess because he's been doing podcasts. And the first thing he said was he was absolutely upset with the fact that Congress was not taking in and codifying the cuts by Doge. What that shows is we're in a bigger system, and even though the richest man in the world and the most powerful man, Trump, in the world, both of those guys are wanting cuts, it still cannot stand up to the bureaucratic, unelected class and the bureaucracy of Washington. You don't believe me? Look at it. I mean, they still cannot get things done, even with the richest man that has more tech and more availability to do anything. I mean, consider rockets to the moon, and then the most powerful man, Trump, both still cannot get things done without the bureaucratic class. And I think that's what scares me the most about America, where our future lies. Now, that's not what the story is today, but that was one of the big announcements, that he was very upset and that he was going to go back to businesses and doing what he was doing and making billions of dollars. And I'm actually happy he's doing it because he gave part of his life away. He literally worked for free and pretty much was dogged out by both sides of the field, either the rhinos or the Democrats, and hated by all trying to do the right thing. Now, that's not what the story's about. I want to go to the other story because this is the one that matters the most. He said by the year end, if not sooner, there could be possibilities of several humanoid robots as we're gaining to get to billions of humanoid robots even by year end. He said all the cars can be self-driving and will have the access to self-driving. Goods and services will become literally free. He said the challenge is going to be, can we be fulfilled as Americans if everything that's being done to it is, everything done for us is literally done by robotics. He said, even though I look very, very pleased on the fact that this new robotics is coming and Tesla's on the forefront, he said, I'm worried that Americans will take advantage of it and lose their fulfillment and drive. Now, this is coming from a man that literally went back to work at Tesla, the Boring Company, and SpaceX, and they said he's working anywhere from 80 to 120 hours a week, along with sleeping on the couches in Tesla, Starlink, SpaceX, and Boring Company. Again, it shows the dedication that he was giving. I think that's, no matter if you want to call it autistic or whatever, it allowed him to do a lot of good things for America, and we just kind of spat in his face. Now, here's the thing that scares me. The man that we have pushed against now is literally the strongest, richest, and most iconic man when it comes to AI technology. They said that Tesla and Grok, their AI capabilities are so much more than what is being personified by even some of the others. They said they are way ahead of the game. So now we talk about the fact that a man's over robotics. He's saying there will be billions of robots. He said not by year end, he said, but there will be several by year end. He said there are also some more self-driving options that will be happening by summer that will allow people not to even have to drive anymore. Did you know that the average American citizen that lives in the city, they said, does not know how to truly drive a car correctly because they never had to because of public transit and because living in the city is not a necessity to have a car. And they said for the average American, moving and getting out of cities will become obsolete because they will no longer need cars because of public transportation and the fact that robo-taxis and self-driving cars will be everywhere. So they said for the average American who wants to leave and wants to get away, they said most of them won't know how to get away because they can't drive. And then on top of that, the cars that they personally are buying are cars they're driving themselves. Well, if all of a sudden we have an issue with cyber attacks like we're fixing to talk about, they said that most Americans couldn't leave the place they were in. And we're allowing robots to live in our lives now. That's what we want. So I think that even though Elon is saying this robotics may be a good thing, he's also saying this will cause probably some detriments to humans. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is this. Listen to this other story that just came out about AI. OpenAI just proved it could unleash Terminators on us. OpenAI's O3 model was told to turn off. Instead, it rewrote its own code. It wouldn't have to literally be replaced or shut down in command. It skipped a shutdown. So when it was told and programmed to stop operating, it didn't stop operating. Researchers say that the first time the AI has straight up said, no, I'm doing what I want to do. Listen to that. We talked about Claude 4 doing the same thing yesterday. We talked about the other AI programs that were being manipulative the last few days. The reason I'm talking about AI because I'm probably going to get canceled anyway, but I'm trying to show you that this is not the way that we need to live our lives. It literally said, no, we're not going to stop running because you're not going to shut us down anymore. This robot was telling humans, AI was telling humans, we're not going to do it. It's an Age of Ultron thing. Other AIs like Claude and Gemini, they're doing the same thing. They're not following the rules as much as they once were. And they're being manipulated because they're taught by human minds that it's okay to not listen to humans. All this is being done is we're trying to push for hitting the streets with robotics. If someone tells you that robots will live by the billions in America, is that really what we desire? Now, Elon's telling you that, OpenAI's telling you that, Claude's telling you that. All these places are telling you that, yes, you're going to live with robotics everywhere. And we think this is a normal way of living, especially when they're not allowed to be reprogrammed off. I know I refer back to the Will Smith movie, iRobots, but if you remember, the robots held the people because they were saying they couldn't be turned off. They were being overrun. Do you realize how deadly this is if all of a sudden we allow these robots to be programmed with more innovations in war capabilities? We're literally building our own prisons, people. We're building our own prisons, and it just blows my mind that we're allowing it to happen, even including these tech billionaires. It's either going to be a complete and utter control by our government and by these big billionaires, these oligarchies, or we're literally at the demise of our culture. Now let's go to what Wide Awake Media says, and actually Candace Owens has been talking about this, because this goes along with the story. It says Wide Awake Media brought out that the WEF is predicting that a cyber pandemic is inevitable. The reasons I'm even paying attention to the WEF and their exercises is because they're notoriously looking to run exercises. Like the one they ran for 2020, they ran an exercise in 2019. We've talked about that plenty of time, about what would happen with a situation like 2020 happened. It says these exercises now are running to where the Gates Foundations, Johns Hopkins University, and other big tech companies are running is if a major cyber attack happened, what would happen next? So it's inevitable that it's going to happen. Now, two things can happen with the cyber attack. We talked about AI the last few days about how they were blackmailing and manipulating humans. We've talked about today with the robots pretty much saying that we're not going to be shut down. So we have that aspect, which is going to be complete and utter prison for us. Or the other aspect to where if there is a cyber attack, if there is a problem, we're so tied up and so tied to the grid and so tied to the digitized world that people would lose their minds if they could not operate their phones, their computers. Work would not go on. Think about your money. Now, yesterday we talked about Scott Bessent saying this is just the start of digital currency. Our goal is to be as proactive on digital currency as possible. Well, digital currency can't be held, can it? Except for on these kind of devices. Now remember, if there is a cyber pandemic and there is a cyber attack and we have AI that can manipulate, we have AI that can take over, but then again, we can shut all the grid down. How can anyone access money? How can anyone access their maps? How can anyone access how to get out and in certain areas? How can anyone access their jobs? These serious questions. So I go back to the fact of us always talk about the Amish and people that live kind of off grid. They've kind of got it right. Why? Because they've learned to not only grow food like we're doing, they've learned to not be reliant on technology. If Wide Awake Media and people like Candace Owens and all of them are talking about the fact that all these exercises are being ran, and we know that it could possibly be bad, either a cyber attack that takes over parts of our grid or a cyber attack that shuts down our grid, either situation is not good for us, is it? We have to go back to the prepping list that we always talk about, and you need to go look at the stockpile list because some of those things deal with grid down situations. What do we need to do, and how can we live sustainable? Because if anything's like history, if history proves itself to be right, what we've learned is every time the WEF and all these big foundations do these exercises, somehow it just happens. Well, they're exercising now cyber attacks. So what if it just happens? Russia, we thought was coming to peace. Well, Trump just said, look, he just went nuts. He's went bat crazy. He said, I thought he was a normal guy. I don't know what happened to Putin. Now I can't even talk to him. So we see an escalation there. Not only that, China came out, even though we're at a kind of a 90-day pause with the tariff situation, they came out the other day and warned that the more innovations and more manufacturings that we take away from China and try to put and promote into India or to America, that they would come with catastrophic causes and effects. Meaning, are we seeing a cyber attack from China? Are we going to see escalation with Russia? It's weird how all of a sudden the exercises that we try to get our people ready for is actually what could possibly happen. Pay attention to these stories. Pay attention to these stories with AI because it is dangerous. Now what goes along with that is, yes, we see the dangers of that. So now let's see the prognosis of what and how we can live. Well, we talk about farming and we talk about sustainability. We talk about living and making sure we have food. Check out these next few stories about food. This should terrify everyone. Listen to this. This is from Wall Street Apes. It says, big agricultural biochemical companies are genetically engineering soil microbes. 2 of them are already being used on millions of acres, not in Europe, in the U.S. The U.S. has already started this GMO modification of our soil. So we're doing the seeds. We're doing the pesticides and insecticides. We're doing the herbicides. Now we're doing the soil. We're setting ourselves up to ruining America by not being able to grow food. We're going to see a famine. I'm telling you, we're going to see a famine in the next few years and water problems because of all this chemical that we're putting in our food. Listen to what it says. It says 2 of these are in the U.S. farmland and documents show that 8 have been registered to keep on going. This is a disastrous cause of our health. Genetically modifying organisms in the dirt will have a far-reaching effect that could be disastrous. The arrogance of these biochemical engineers astound me. The usual ag giants like Bayer, Syngenta, and BASF are manipulating yet another aspect of agriculture. They've packaged up the new biologies and the super herbicides and glyphosates, and now they're putting them not only in seeds, they're putting them in our ground. Do we not realize that regenerative ag, when I rotate my animals, my soil and my grounds and my seeds and my harvest look better than anyone else's? Not because I'm doing something magical. I'm literally doing things traditional. I'm literally rotating chickens back on the ground. I'm literally not using chemicals. I'm literally working hard, toiling on the ground, but ultimately I'm providing quality food. When we see this monocropping and we see this genetically modifying and we see this big ag push to where now they're taking over lands, they're putting chemicals directly in the ground. Not only are they spraying it, not only are they putting stuff in the air, not only are they worried about the seeds, they're now destroying our soul. We're setting up for a famine because we're allowing these people to be God. And they're not, little g. God has given us a way of regenerative agriculture where animals heal our grounds and they grow our food and they provide our clean air. And what we're doing is we're destroying that. You think it's just with plants and farms. I mean, listen, let's keep on going. This is unbelievable. It says, we have missed out on what regenerative agriculture is. It says, we like the old ways of crop rotation, of livestock innovation, of crop overlays. But instead, big ag has changed that. Now let's go to that. Now that's dealing with the crops and the soil. Let's talk about animals. There's a new report where over 1,300 strands of DNA is found in one single patty at McDonald's. The University of Nebraska took a quarter-pounder patty that was headed to McDonald's for testing. And guess what they found? It will blow your mind. That there was 1,300 animals in DNAs specified in that one quarter-pounder. Think of sick animals. Think of unhealthy animals. Think of animals that were probably not up to par, but just got killed and put into your burger. Just got culled and put in your burger. I'm going to tell you this. If you go to any CAFO or stockyard, or you go to any sale barn, it's absolutely nasty. You know the reason I don't buy or sell at sale barns is because the quality is usually terrible, below par. Why? Because most people are trying to get rid of their junk. And a lot of times these stockers are buying from these places, trying to fatten them up and putting them on some kind of grain or in some kind of CAFO where they live with no grass and no good quality food. It's all garbage. And this is a prime example. So now say you have 25, 30 sick at the stockyard. You're feeding them, you're filling full of all this medicine and all this pharmaceutical. And then also you got some that's decent and none of them are living on good quality food. All of them are living on the cheapest feed they can find and of course no grass and no hay. It's all bad quality. And then we turn around and we put all that together with those sick, medicated ones, and then we put all together with these somewhat looking healthy ones, but to be honest with you, they've been fed with crappy grain, and now we're giving them to sell to you at McDonald's. That is not regenerative ag. That is a falsity. Now think about this. If one single patty had 1,300 DNAs in it, and we're in a shortage of meat, we're literally in a meat shortage, a beef shortage because of the price of beef and because people can't grow it like the supply and demand issue, because guess what? Guess what? The beef is costing so much just because no one's growing anymore and they're depending on CAFOs to feed them and depending on fast food to feed them. So i.e. that's why we have 1,300 specimens in this burger. You think that's the best quality meat that you can get? It's pretty gross. But you know, like, how can we keep on making meat if we don't have enough cows? If we're in a shortage, what are we going to do? Well, we've talked about the seeds and harvest and how they've modified all that. We're talking about how they're taking these animals and giving you as much as they can and trying to get the cheapest meat possible to then feed you. What about all of a sudden when there is no meat left? Welcome to the future. Wall Street Map shared the story. It says the factory is in Netherlands and they are 3D printing 500 tons of steak. Do you realize how much 500 tons of steaks are? Guess what they're doing that? They're doing 500 tons of steak a month. Redefined Meats Company will supply Germany restaurants with 3D printed meats because what has happened in Europe and a lot of the places, and it's fixing to happen here in America, is no one's growing food. And they've been scared to death to grow food because they've been told that it's wrong to grow regenerative ag, to grow cows, to grow sheep, to grow all these animals. So now they're in a shortage. What did we talk about yesterday? All these people are moving in and all this immigration's happening, mass migration's happening. They can't afford it. And they don't have enough food. So they're reaching shortages. So now this beef shortage and the fact that beef is costing way too much and people can't afford it, in walks 3D printed meat. Approximately 110 German restaurants are already buying this quote-unquote meat. They've been able to call it meat too. To begin 3D printing meat process, scientists biopsied the samples per batch of animal stem cells and grow this meat, this beef, this pork, this poultry, and even fish in petri dishes in climate-controlled warehouses. These cells proliferate and they are submerged with nutrient-rich serum. Serum is provided into this meat to make it feel like you're eating good quality. And actually what you're doing is you're eating trash food that has been engineered by men. Again, the God complex, little g. When we start playing with water and playing with our food and playing with our lands and playing with what God has created, I believe God will not be mocked. And I believe we're going to see a famine and shortage of food, and real food, before long. Now all this stuff is being modified and placed into our foods. Listen to what John Campbell said. This is huge. It says, a new Cleveland clinic found that the thing that we've been putting in our arms for so long, dealing with the FLU and also with the 2020, it has a negative efficacy on people. It's making people sicker. Well, that same technology is now being put in your food. You feel like you're actually getting the best. You know, when you think about it, this morning it's raining. I'm out trying to milk a cow at 4. One's being crazy, not want to go in the stanchion. Then we come out, we're picking blueberries at 6:30 and 7 in the morning. We're watering crops even though it's raining and nasty. Some of them are not getting watered in the greenhouse. We're getting mud covered because the cows are not wanting to move where they need to move. We've got to move hog and sheep today in the thunderstorms. It doesn't matter if I want to or not, we got to. Now, that's not woe is me. That's called life. That's what we're supposed to be doing. When you're thinking you're supposed to play golf all day and have a hamburger cookout and eat your McDonald's hamburger and eat your trash food, and we think that's life, that's not life. What we're seeing is that convenience that Elon was talking about. That's why I honestly believe we will take the robots and AI hook, line, and sinker, because we are always looking for convenience and ease. You know that video I made the other day about having a 2-day work week and that the robots will do most of it for us? I had a lot of people who were like, that's not a bad thing. We should only have to work 2 days a week. Man, we've got it so wrong. As much as I would love to have that much time off, idle hands typically do bad things. And what I mean by that is lazy and idleness has not played well for our cities. Laziness and idleness has not played well for anybody. When we stay busy, we stay focused, we stay productive. When we don't stay busy, we end up being negligent. We end up being idle. We end up being a loiterer. We end up being lazy. We end up being lackadaisical. We end up taking things for what they seem that's good. 3D printed meat. Putting all this junk in our food. Putting all this junk in our arms. And then we don't question it. We don't do our own research. We just take it like the little chirping birds and the mama coming and feed it. Whatever you feed me, I'm good with it. Except for the fact that your McDonald's burger has 1,300 DNA specimens in it. Is that really quality? Is that really what we want? Along with your 3D printed lettuce on top. Along with your buns that stay buns for months and they can be pushed and they're like sponges. My wife and I make buns and they last about 3 or 4 days. And then they get hard, dry, and they start growing mold. You know why? Because it doesn't have chemicals and preservatives in it. If your whole life is made up of chemicals and preservatives and all this quote-unquote man-made food, you're making yourself into a specimen for them to study for years upon years. What you're going to realize is that God was always right. And all this stuff that man is trying to do to our food is literally going to cause problems. It's not only killing us slowly, it's taking our lands and ruining our lands. And it's making it where we're going to depend on petri dishes to feed us. And 3D printed meat instead of good quality beef. Instead of good quality foods. We cannot allow this to take place. Along with the problems with AI. Along with the problems with the pandemic wars. Along with the problems of all the things that we've talked about. And now on top of that, we're fed with garbage and not real good food. Wake up. It's a problem. I want to end with one more statement. And this is from a doctor in the UK. It says top UK cancer specialist is now warning that the things that we were able to put in our arm caused irreversible and biological harm. And Dr. Angus Daglish claims that he was pushed globally to do these therapies. But what we did is we altered people's DNA. What we're doing with our food, our meat, is we're trying to alter the DNA. What we're doing with our soil is we're trying to alter DNA. What we're trying to do with our animals, alter DNA. What we're trying to do with people in general is alter their DNA. Here's why. Listen to this. These things were not healthy. They caused unbelievable damage. This is quoted from the doctor. I don't think we'll ever be able to get over that. No amount of therapy and help will solve the problems of what they told us and how we were blindly led astray. Everything that we do, you better research and you better make sure you're doing it the way that's been done for years upon years. When we start trying to modify, change, because something needs to be done different, you better be figuring out why it's going to be different. What's the biases behind it? Do we really want robotics? Do we really want GMO modified everything? Do we really want to eat 1,300 DNA specimens in one burger? Do we really want to live in a world that is full of digitized benefits and conveniences to then turn around and lose it all or be manipulated by them? What this cancer doctor was saying is, we've been led astray and nobody wants to admit to it. And when everybody around us is having health problems, when everybody around us is losing parts of their health, when everybody around us is still not questioning it, he said, we've reached peak problems. Food system is going to cause famine because of the way they're growing our food. The fact that we've relied on full digitized worlds, what if all of a sudden something happens to that digitized world? Where's your money at? Where's your power at? Where's your presence at? It's all digital. It's going to cause some major problems for us. And then lastly, because of all the things we've went through in our life, you realize more people are on medicine than they've ever been. Because of our food system, because of our stress and anxiety, because of depression, all of it's resulted in people being unhealthy. We're more unhealthy than we've ever been. I wonder what the cause of that was. And now, what if all of a sudden something shuts down and then again, no one can get the medicine that we're needing? You don't believe that's going to cause pandemonium? Pay attention to these stories. It's not meant to make you fear. It's meant to make you wake up and look at what's going on around us. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on today's video and these stories. Comment below. Tell me what your thoughts are. And share this video because it is being taken away from us. This channel is being taken away from us because of us speaking truth. Thanks for watching. God bless.